in today's episode, we're going to go through why we set up the podcast, what we kind of are looking for when it comes to the outcomes of this podcast, and just a bit more of information about us too, isn't it really, Mark?
Pretty much, mate. Yeah, just explaining how we've ended up here and why we're doing what we're doing. More importantly, what is the world coming to when a pair of clowns like us are allowed to record something and plaster it around the world?
It's quite a powerful thing, isn't it? It's we can literally say whatever we want, and we probably are going to say whatever we want because it's, you know, why not?
Well, at the minute it's 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm on my best behaviour, so hopefully that will continue for a few minutes at least. But who knows what could happen?
Yeah, I've seen, you know, some of the podcasts that I've done and you've done in the past, and I've known you for what, 7 years now? Long time.
Yeah, I think it's going back pretty much that long, mate. Yeah, it's been a fair while. When did you set the group up?
2012. Yeah.
But it must have been pretty much soon after that, when there was probably only a couple of hundred members in there. I think I jumped in.
Yeah, and that was exactly it. It's grown massively since then, and obviously you've been in there from the beginning. Obviously I've been in there from the beginning, and it's just massive, and that kind of leads me to this. The aims and outcomes of this podcast is really to help spread high quality information in an industry that is known for misinformation. So I think if we can help, even if we help one personal trainer with their business or with their education or with their best practice, then, you know, obviously that's our goal, really, isn't it? It's just, we've got a lot of experience.
Yeah, and for me, I've been teaching PT stuff for pretty much 6 or 7 years now, since we've known each other. And the thing for me that is frustrating, but also something that kind of I find quite annoying, is how many PTs leave the industry before they probably should have. I think too many people come in and leave too quickly because they probably don't have enough skills or enough confidence and enough competence to do the job. And although, yes, you can go down no end of rabbit holes, adding as many layers of complex science to things as you like, in essence, the actual job is quite a simple one. Too many people bark up the wrong trees for too long. Would you agree?
Massively so. And we'll so one of the sections that we'll be doing every week on our podcast is the debate kind of section at the end, which is where we're going to pull a topic out of a hat, and then we're going to, you know, one of us is going to go pro and one is going to go against that topic, and we're going to have a reasonable debate as to the pros and cons of that subject. So be it Herbalife or gym machines or whatever, there's going to be pros and cons. I think that's another good point, that's going to show personal trainers that there are always pros and cons. There's always kind of reasonable and unreasonable aspects of anything, you know. Something that's going to be super interesting. So, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, sorry, mate. There'll be a lot of people that have a love-hate relationship with all social media groups, but with the UK PT group especially, because so many things become so fractious and like argumentative, because Joe Blogs thinks this and somebody else thinks that. So now all of a sudden we have to fucking argue about it, and all of the people that agree with this side have to hate all of the people that agree with that side. And for me, the amount of arguments that I've kind of brought to an end in that group just through a tiny little bit of common sense, for want of a better word, in that there's important thing for all PTs of all abilities and all levels of experience to appreciate, is that there actually isn't, 99 times out of 100, there isn't a right or a wrong way of doing anything. There's just an appropriate and an inappropriate way of doing it for that client at that specific time. So there's no need to really argue about, yeah, but I think this. Okay, yeah, that's fine. but somebody else can argue that that's inappropriate for another scenario. It doesn't mean that either of you is right or wrong.
And that works across the whole spectrum. Like, you know, is it working? Can it work right now for your business? Can it work right now for your marketing? Can it work right now for your clients? It's always relative to that individual situation. And I think that's something we're going to cover a lot throughout this podcast over the next few weeks. So,
yeah. And so that's why I've put in, and just in case anyone doesn't believe me, there they are. There's 20 random categories in my spare Tupperware.
No.
10 years ago, that would have been full of chicken and broccoli sitting in my, not mine, because I didn't give a shit about all that stuff, but if you walked into any other gym. So yeah, we're going to finish off with the debate. One of us is going to argue for, one of us is going to argue against, and hopefully it will be semi-humorous, if not mildly informative, but who knows what happens. But we're going to kick off. I'm going to turn into the interviewer, and Josh is going to be my guest as the interviewee. And one of the things when we sort of set about doing this, we both of us have been guests on several podcasts before, and I've been on some good podcasts, like with some very good interviewers. However, a lot of them are fairly similar chats. Just excuse the dog; she's just getting comfortable behind me. Just have to shuffle all the cushions around. The format of a lot of podcasts is similar, and all we wanted to do with this one is to maybe chuck a few bits in that are not like groundbreaking, but just to make it a little bit different. So we're going to start off. We're not going to have this wishy-washy bullshit aims and objectives chat at the start. It's not a CPD course. We're going to go straight in off the bat with 3 rounds of 9 questions. So 27 questions. Every single guest is going to answer the same 27 questions, because that will start to sort of give different people's opinions on the same thing, different people's answers to the same questions. And then from those 27 questions, that will lead us into the second, like the interview section, where we can then elaborate on bits and pieces.
Sounds good.
Joshua, are you ready?
I was born ready.
Good, mate. I'm getting my stopwatch ready because I'm taking this deadly serious.
Ooh.
So three sections. The first section is loosely based around your education. 90 seconds to answer the 9 questions. So for those less gifted in the mathematics department, that is 10 seconds for the asking and the answer of each question. Josh, are you ready?
I was born ready, sir.
Still. 3, 2, 1, off we go. Josh, in what year did you qualify as a personal trainer? 2005. Who was the education provider?
Lifetime.
And how long did it take you to qualify from start to finish?
4 months.
4 months. What was the last CPD course that you attended?
I think it was a cadaver workshop, looking at their bodies for anatomy.
And when was that?
That was last year.
Last year, cool, okay. What is the next CPD course that you've got your eye on?
Probably my sports massage level 5.
Okay. What is the highest level of qualification that you possess?
So I've got a level 4 in personal training, like advanced personal training.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that would count.
Okay, I will accept your answer. I've got 30 seconds to go, or 25 now I've said that. Should a personal trainer ever be reassessed? And if so, how often?
Yes, I think they should be. Probably every 2 to 5 years, I'm going to go with.
Okay, 10 seconds left. What skill did you gain on your PT course that you use most often today?
Consultation skills.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at your job?
9.
It's not bad, mate. 1 minute 31.
Woo.
Not too bad. Okay, are you ready for round 2? So round 2 is slightly more industry based, just to give us a little bit of a flavour of your thoughts and feelings towards various segments of the industry. Okay. Question number 1. Name the most underrated person, product, or thing in the industry.
Education and networking.
Name the most overrated person, product, or thing in the industry.
The latest piece of shiny equipment.
What book should all personal trainers read?
Extreme ownership.
Foam rolling, yes or no?
Yes.
For how long did you do gym hours before you were exclusive as a personal trainer?
Probably about 2 years.
Which common fitness myth do you wish could be debunked forever?
That personal trainers can't make a lot of money.
What is the best piece of work-related advice that you've ever been given?
Outwork everybody.
Who would be the ultimate fitness industry podcast guest?
Probably Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger. Mate, I haven't got his number. You got 30 seconds left, so please tell me, what are your favourite 3 exercises?
Kettlebell swing is number 1. Then probably the inverted row. And then probably the kettlebell clean and press.
Done. 1 minute 15.
Oh.
Okay, moving on now to my favourite round, which is personal shit. Are you good to go?
I'm good to go. Let's do this.
Okay, question 1. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Favourite city you've visited?
Port Louis in Mauritius.
If you could attend any concert, who would be playing, dead or alive?
Probably Wu-Tang Clan.
What was the last TV series you watched or streamed an episode of?
Last night, Will and Grace.
Great. If you could choose anyone to play you in a movie about your life, who would it be?
Who's the guy that plays Magic Mike? I can't remember.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, there we go. Cool.
Who's the guy that played Shrek? Tea or coffee, and how do you take it?
Coffee in any way.
Would you rather go back in time to speak to your ancestors or go forward in time to speak to your descendants?
Ooh, probably ancestors, so I knew what I was coming from and find out about their history and everything.
Question 8. Would you rather shag a goat and nobody will ever know about it, or would you rather not shag the goat but everybody thinks that you have?
I would not shag the goat because I'm not that bothered about people's opinions. I say that now, but obviously I've never had that situation arise.
Interesting. 10 seconds to go. Name one thing that is still on your bucket list.
Skydive.
Skydive. Easy peasy. Happy days, mate. That concludes the my interview reel for taking over from Parkinson. He dead? He is. I think Parkinson's dead, isn't he?
I think so.
Probably quite a while as well. Maybe they're looking for a new host.
Well, I think you could go for the job right now. I think this should be in your show reel.
I'll be honest, I don't fancy my chances. Right, let's pick some of the bones out of some of that stuff there. So looking back, like the educational stuff, and the reason I asked some of them questions is because I think some people do their courses so quickly that they don't have enough time to digest anywhere near enough information to be able to stand a chance of doing the job, and they're like a rabbit in headlights. So you said it took you 4 months. Is that including like your level 2 and your level 3?
No, so I had my level 2 already. So I qualified as level 2 in 2005. So actually, one of my answers was technically wrong. And then I was a gym instructor for 2 years at 3 different gyms.
Yeah.
And then after that, I joined LA Fitness as a gym instructor. And they said, look, if you want, we'll put you onto like an apprenticeship sort of scheme with lifetime. It was meant to take 6 months to a year, but basically I just tried to smash through it. I was super keen, really passionate, and got through it fast. And it was, you know, I'd seen my tutor, whose name was Chris Sridhar, and he's still in the fitness industry. And he's one of the reasons that everything that's happened so far, everything is due to him pretty much, because he was the one that said to me, you know, this is just the beginning. This level 3, you learn the training systems, you learn some basic nutrition. That is definitely 100% just the beginning of your journey. And I think if it wasn't for him saying that, I think that could have been a problem.
Yeah, mate, I had exactly the same thing, exactly the same scenario. And I won't spoil any of the answers because you've got to interview me in the next episode. But I can definitely relate to it. So you said 4 months doing just a level 3, and that's still a pretty decent amount of time. Like that's a good 16 weeks. That's a fair amount of time to get a lot of stuff in. But that is after having spent 2 years in the trenches,
Yeah.
on the gym floor, cleaning for probably 70% of your time.
Yeah, and that was, so we used to do everything like from cleaning the swimming pool, doing the pool test, the chlorine and everything.
Yeah.
Teaching 2 classes a day, so normally spin, and then doing group inductions and single one-to-one inductions. So the good thing as well is when I was doing my PT course, I'd see Chris for say an hour or 2 hours once a week, and then I would immediately go and take that information and I would apply it across my inductions, and I'd be in the gym for the other hours that week.
Yeah.
So I could immediately go and like kind of cement that into my systems and the way that I did things, and my knowledge was kind of being, reinforced every time I used it. So that was really, really good.
And you can sort of drip feed new bits that you learn, just add something every shift or every week or something, and just chuck something into a class, get used to it, play around with it, and then once you sort of get comfortable with that, add another layer of complexity, can't you?
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And I think because so after that was in 2007 when I got qualified, I was a PT for 3 years at that LA Fitness. Then I moved over to Virgin Active, but only for a short while, like a couple of months, because then after that, I got offered my first job teaching courses. And, the thing that I think being a gym instructor taught me whilst doing my PT course was that the hard work is not just there to, grind you down or to make you like the gym's bitch. It's there to teach you about putting in hard work. So when I did become a self-employed personal trainer, so I was 17, I had to pay £800 a month rent to the gym. And this wasn't in central London either. But then within a month, I was fully booked at £35 an hour, because all I did for the first month, open till close, was just walk the floor, just talk to people 7 days a week. I was fucked after the first month. But then I had, 30 sessions a week. And it was, that was consistent until I left, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was just building relationships and putting in the work, and all I had was a clipboard and a pen. I didn't have, like Facebook ads or whatever else, email lists. It was just putting in the work.
Did it the hard way. Yeah. Talking to people, heaven forbid.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. There's technology and like advancements in IT particularly have sort of been a revelation in many areas, but sometimes you just can't beat old school. And for me, I remember those, like the guy who might be a guy or a girl, I can't remember. So one of the tutors who I had during my time when I was training, they sort of said that when you're on shift, if you've got nothing to do, just walk around and fill someone's water bottle up. Go and get some blue roll or something and shove it in the treadmill. So when they're finished, they can use it to wipe their sweat off. They're just little things like that. Just obviously ask permission first so they don't think you're stealing it. And some of these things might be outdated now. Maybe like Boris will arrest you for going too close to somebody and taking their water bottle off them. However, in the good old days, you grab a water bottle, fill it up, bring it back. The person says, thank you. And you say, that's all right. Then a conversation ensues. And before you know it, that person now likes you, they trust you. And 3 weeks later, when their knee hurts or they can't think of any other ab exercises, you're the person who they ask because they know you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think good customer service will never, ever be invalid. It will always be useful, and it will always be the base of a lot of businesses. Even if you're a fully online business, if you're just a podcast, if you're something that doesn't even face any customers, customer service will still come into how you do business in one way or another. It always has to, because you can't have a business really without customers. So
definitely can't, and you can't have a podcast without listeners. So hopefully there's still a few knocking around. So when you did your level 3, so we're looking at, that's probably what, about 2007 or 8?
Yeah, 2007.
And then in what year did you do your level 4?
Oh man,
Level 4 probably wouldn't have existed back then, would it?
No, so the level 4 I've only done in the past like 3 years.
Okay, cool. So you managed to survive for a good decade with just being a level 3 PT who worked his bollocks off, didn't shag any goats, but made sure that customer service was his go-to thing.
It's a pretty concise summary. I like it. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I did a bunch of. I've got a bunch of qualifications.
Yeah.
There's a whole file there, and probably so within my first year, I think I did 4 additional qualifications, and they were mandated by the gym that we had to do them anyway. So we had like water aerobics, we had plant room operations, which was doing the swimming pool stuff, lifeguarding, and then I chose one extra one that I could do on my own, which was kettlebells. And do you remember Angie Dowds?
Yeah.
So I did my course with her.
Okay.
She was one of the first RKCs in the UK from Mullin. So that is why kettlebells have been such a consistent thing in my training, because it was one of the first times I got pulled out of the bodybuilding style of training, because that was my background with bodybuilding. And then ever since then, kettlebells have always been a constant in my training. And now they are my only source of training, kettlebells and bodyweight.
Really?
Yeah, because I went from bodybuilding, and then I went to powerlifting, and then I got quite badly injured. This is in like 2015. And then once I was okay again, I started just using kettlebells. I did simple and sinister, doing swings and get-ups, and just going back to what I knew made me feel the best. So kettlebells for me, I hate throwing around this term, but kettlebells have always made me feel the most functional. Injury-free, strong, endurance, all that sort of stuff.
Cool. So some of the CPDs were forced upon you, and then some of them you chose to do yourself. You say, so you did like 4 in the first year. What then? So after that, when the gym weren't dictating what you had to do and when you had to do it, what did your sort of CPD schedule look like then? Like, you tried to get a couple in a year, or?
Yeah, it was normally 1 or 2 per year. I'll be honest, CPD at that point wasn't really at the top of my list of priorities, because it was more about, I've got these clients, like I'm busy, so what I'm doing is clearly working. And I'd still like read books, and I'd still go on, bodybuilding.com and read articles there, because that was pretty much my only source of information right back then.
PT on the net?
Yeah, I used it occasionally, but I wasn't the biggest fan at the time, because a lot of the information was very American.
Yeah.
I felt like it was more towards kind of like rehab, and to me, being completely honest, at the time, I thought it was too scientific. I was like, man, they're making this too complex, and my clients just want to get shredded or lose weight or get bigger. Like, I know how to do that. So, and that was kind of it. And I'll be honest, there was a point where, when you see the curve and you think you know everything, then you know nothing.
Yeah.
It was that. I was like, do you know what? I've got my way of doing things. People should be doing 5-day splits. They should be eating like this, 6 meals a day. And I was very stuck in my ways. So CPD wasn't really a priority back then.
I had a bloody good question that I was going to ask you about 2 or 3 minutes ago, and then you kept waffling on, and I forgot it, and now I can't remember what it was. So it'll come back to me in a minute. What? How have you ever found yourself in a position where you've thought, "Fuck it, this isn't working. I think I need to go and do something else for a living"?
Definitely. So,
Okay.
yeah, I was talking to my wife about this the other day. So we drove past this double glazing shop, and so basically, I won't give names and stuff because I'm not sure if they're still in the industry. But I was doing very, very well at LA Fitness, and it got to 2010, and my daughter had just been born. So this was like the July of 2010. And basically me and my partner at the time, we were like, look, I should probably go from being self-employed to being employed so that I can have a better chance of getting a mortgage. Mm-hmm. So I then got approached by a manager of Virgin Active at the time, and she kind of like headhunted me and said, look, we've got this position, you'd be a PT, you'd be earning X amount per hour, like per session, but we'll also give you a wage of £1,500 a month on top of your commission. I was like, man, that sounds fucking awesome. You know, I'll have a wage while I build up my client base, and then I'll be employed, and then I can show my accountant and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I get to Virgin Active, and this was in the September, and I start my first week or whatever, and the PT manager had been sacked. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And it turns out she'd taken on 3 or 4 new members of staff on the premise of them having wages, which was never a thing. There was never any wage, ever. Virgin Active had no idea what she was talking about. So then I'd gone into this new gym where I didn't know anyone. There were 11 personal trainers, including me, instead of the 3 personal trainers that I was used to, that I knew. And the membership, the type of client were very snobby, very, and I don't like people like that. I don't get on with, I like to be myself. So after maybe a month, I was like, man, this is fucking shit. Like I earned like £400 last week or whatever it was, last month. So a friend of mine got in touch, and he was like, oh dude, I've got this sales job going in a double glazing company. Would you be interested? He's like, you get £3,000 a month plus commission and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go for the interview. And then just randomly, I was on leisurejobs.com, and a trainee, like an intern tutor position came up for a large training company. And I was like, I'll apply for that as well. And just as luck would have it, the interviews were on the same day. So I was like, fuck, it's a lot less money, but I'd still be in the fitness industry. I'd be teaching people how to be personal trainers. I've been successful up until I changed to this gym. Fuck it, let's give it a go. So I went to that interview and I got the job, and that's how I stayed in the fitness industry. But it could have very easily taken a turn, and I could have been selling double glazing.
Yeah. It's interesting, those little sliding doors moments, and I've had dozens of them, like dozens and dozens. And it's crazy when you sort of think about how different things could have been. But then again, usually things happen for a reason. Sort of, what can you learn from that? What is it from that situation when you think, I'm at rock bottom here, like, fuck it, I'll sack it off and go elsewhere? Or you can say, right, well, how have I ended up in this position? What can I do to not get here again? Can I do something? Was I a bit comfortable before? Could I work more on other areas? But I suppose it's nice. I've definitely got stories like that I could talk all day about. But I think I'm hoping it will be nice for people listening to this, whether they are newly qualified or even if they've been doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, to hear that even someone like yourself still has gone through that same process.
I think, just a quick note on that, there's a lot of people out there, I was definitely one of them, that think that kind of taking a break or having some time to have another job, and they see it as a failure. But if you were to take a step back from being self-employed and you got a job for 6 months to a year, whatever, and you regrouped and you got back your passion and your drive, and then you attack it again, there's nothing wrong with that. The only person you need to think about is yourself, and then potentially your family. What's best for them. I feel that a lot of the pressure that we face every day, especially as fitness professionals, is because we compare ourselves to these people on social media, and if we're not making 20 grand a month, then we're a failure. Well, fuck that. Who says that is the way? Like, there is no one way of doing things. There's your way, and the thing that will work best for you personally. So if you need to take a step back and get a job, so be it. If you're still alive, then you can keep going. Like, that's it, really.
Hopefully, I'd like to think that we've kind of passed the peak of the amount of bullshit that people fall for on social media. I think for a few years now, it's been too easy to pull the wool over people's eyes, and a lot of people are maybe quite naive to think, fuck, there's all these PTs out there that are earning 100 grand a year. Now it's not even 100 grand a year, it's 100 grand a month. Like, fuck me, I earned 800 quid last month, therefore I'm shit, so I might as well sack it off. Well, actually, the vast majority of the shit that you see on social media doesn't even exist. And there are a few people that do extortionately well out of the fitness industry, out from a personal training perspective, but they are a piss in the ocean compared to the people who work their bollocks off and feel like they're getting nowhere. And I when I'm teaching PTs, I'll have a slide, I think 21 or 22 slides I have when I do talks at the shows and stuff. And that thing about having a second job, or even having a first job and personal training as your second income, that's not a bad thing, especially if you are within your first maybe 2 or 3 years and you're just setting up, because it takes that long to just even to get used to talking to people and dealing with shit, and the types of things that pop up and the problems you have to deal with and scenarios that you find yourself in. It takes years for that to really, for everything to calm down, and even then you're at the tip of the iceberg of what you need to succeed longer term.
100%. And I think that's the other problem, is that people are in such a rush to get to where they need to be. So and I've never really revealed this to anyone. Same as that double glazing story. I've never
world exclusive, everybody.
World exclusive. I've never told that double glazing story before, ever, on a podcast or in any kind of situation like this. And then
you selfishly saved it for your own podcast, you bastard.
It's called business, baby.
Selfish bastard.
The other thing is, like, I've been running PT Toolbox now since 2013. And we've had very, very good months, and we've had very, very bad months, and it's always been very, very up and down. But like so next month is potentially for PT Toolbox going to be like a 15 grand month, which is, if I posted that on social media, I said, look, this is how much I earn, people would think that was just a thing that happened, but that's taken 7 years of me making fuck up after mistake, after screw up, after fuck up.
Yeah.
To be able to get to that point and learning from each of those. And that's where I think the value comes in from guys like me and you, is we're not saying we're better than other people. It's just we've recognized mistakes that we've made, and we understand them and we accept them. And that's what a lot of mentors do, is they've spent money and time making mistakes. And
I get that a lot. So I used to write the Thank Fuck It's Monday blogs.
Yeah.
Did it every Monday morning for 4 years. So I did 208 versions of it, of blog versions of it. And I used to get people, say like some of the people who spend a bit of time with me on a daily basis, either clients or friends, lads I play rugby with or what have you, they would like read it. And let's say it's about something like, I don't know, there'll be some sort of message in there somewhere. People read it and go, well, fuck off. He doesn't do that. Fucking lying bastard. And the amount of times I'll have to have the conversation with people say, stop being so thick. What you don't understand is, and I repeat this a lot of times, is I'm not writing that saying, look at me, I'm holier than thou. I'm preaching how you should behave.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down as a message to me, who keeps fucking forgetting the message that I'm writing in the blog. It's like an accountability, and it's slagging myself off for not having that trait and there as a reminder for me to try to improve moving forward. Does that make sense?
Definitely, 100%.
You go the amount of time people are like, oh, fuck off, you don't do that. Like, that's the fucking point. For the 25th time, Sharon, that is the point of the blog. I write it down so that I eventually, hopefully, learn from it. And if I can make some people giggle, then happy days.
Oh.
Mate, at the minute, what does your schedule look like in terms of how much coaching do you still do, if any? How much teaching do you do, if any? And how much kind of behind the scenes business, like logistical stuff? What does your schedule look like roughly?
Good question. So I still do some remote coaching for like 2 or 3 clients that have been with me for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
That right now is more like tweaking stuff that's been in place for a while. So that's very, very low maintenance. That's maybe an hour a week. And then I've got a couple of people that come to me for sports massage, which is probably only 2 hours a week. And because that's the sort of stuff that now, and this without sounding like a business douche, that's the sort of stuff that I can replace with doing stuff like this, which will make me more money long term for less effort.
We go 50-50 on that, yeah?
Yeah, of course. And then over, say, probably 2 days, it's content writing for PT Toolbox. So writing new courses, developing new stuff. Probably about an hour a day is spent on UK PTs, moderating posts, and just trying to keep the people from ripping each other's faces off. And then the rest of the time is behind the scenes stuff. It's doing the marketing, it's speaking with Steve, who's the tutor that runs all of our courses at Southend Personal Trainer Academy, because I'm still running that. And then because so most of my stuff is writing courses.
Yep.
Which is more of the online stuff, and then kind of the behind the scenes business stuff. I'm not teaching any face-to-face courses at the moment, but I probably will again soon, obviously because of all the stuff that's going on.
Before the like the COVID restrictions, were you doing any teaching with any regularity then?
Yeah, so it was like normally once a week I would just jump into the PT courses we were teaching, and I would teach like maybe a business session, or I'd do like the nutrition stuff because that's what I like teaching. Or we'd go and do practical stuff, advanced training systems, consultation skills, like that sort of thing. So that's one thing that I kind of pride myself on, is that I still jump in regularly and teach the level 3 PT course and the level 3 massage course, or some parts of it, just to keep me in the loop and keeping my teaching skills up to date, really.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of the underhand reason for me asking that question, was to try and gauge, and you passed, by the way, but to try and gauge sort of if there's any fraudulent behavior in there anywhere. Sort of,
yeah.
One of the things, I didn't expect there would be, but one of the things that sort of annoys me a little bit is when you get people, they've done a course in over a weekend. Now they're gobbing off about how they're the most amazing PT in town. then the next week they're selling courses on how you can become a fully booked personal trainer earning 100 grand a year.
Yeah.
And they've never actually done that themselves, and they've also they're not actually currently doing it now. So okay, there comes a point where after a certain amount of time, and if you become so successful from a business perspective, the actual running of the business would dictate that it can become very, very difficult to still do the day job, as it were. But it's nice to hear that even with a potentially lucrative month coming up, you're still doing some massage, some teaching, some PT level 2 and level 3 stuff, and still working with some one-to-one clients or small groups of clients.
Yeah, and it's a pro and a con really, because I think that goes back to my days as a PT, where if you don't work, you don't get paid. And, you know, I've got 2 businesses. So there's PT Toolbox and Southend PT Academy. And then UK PTs, I wouldn't class it as a business, but it does earn a little bit of money. And sometimes someone goes, oh, could you just fit me in for a massage? And I probably shouldn't, but I'm like, oh man, that's 60 quid for the hour. Like, fuck it, I'll just do it anyway. And I'll stay an hour later or whatever. So there have been times, I think, that I've realized it's very important when to say no to stuff. Because there was a time probably in the last 2 years to a year, there was a period of time where I was so busy, I wasn't getting anything done. So I was freelancing in Cambridge. I was driving to Canterbury every other day to see my now wife. I was teaching here. I was doing all this stuff. I was doing IV work, like internal verification for courses. And I had all this stuff going on, and none of it was being done very well. And I was making less money because of it. Like, it was just, oh man, it was stressful, was it? It was just the worst time.
Yeah, oh, mate, I think it's probably the second SFN Expo in Glasgow. It might have been the first one, but I think it was the second one. And I was up there, and I'd done the first day on the Saturday. We went for a pint afterwards in the hotel, and then we're like, right, meet back down here in 45 minutes and we'll go for dinner. I was having my pint and I was thinking, a bit knackered. Between me feeling a bit knackered at about 6 o'clock and coming down for dinner at 7 o'clock, I felt like I was fucking dying. Like, and I don't mean to say that in a disrespectful way to people who go through like traumatic illnesses, but like genuinely, I was like, fuck me, I am actually concerned that there's something so seriously wrong with me that I could die. I was that ill. Couldn't eat. I was like dripping with sweat, and then I was freezing cold. I went through. I had the worst night ever. And then the next day, I couldn't even go to the show. I didn't go to the show, and I had to fly back from Glasgow Airport. I tell you what, it was the weekend. I went out for dinner on the Saturday night with Andy McKenzie, because we had him on the Jordan Fitness stand, and I was supposed to be like entertaining him. Couldn't even barely speak, so poor Andy was like chatting to himself. And then I'd also met Ben Coomber face to face for the first time on that Saturday. So Saturday afternoon, I'd met him, we're having a chat. On the Sunday, as we're flying back from the airport, he was on the same flight. I could barely open my mouth. Like, I was so ill. Anyway, to cut a long story mildly shorter, I went to the doctor like as soon as I got back, and they diagnosed me with like chronic fatigue. And when I went and looked back through my diary, I had over 100 consecutive days where I'd either taught a course or trained clients or been in the office writing courses. That doesn't sort of sound too much. Like, that's what, 3 months. But when it's like it was every single day, probably driving for 3 hours, teach a course for 8 hours, drive 3 hours back so I can do my boot camp session at 8 o'clock in the evening. It's just like the early mornings, the late nights. And I was in bed for probably 2 weeks nearly. It absolutely wiped me out. And since then, so that's probably about 5 years ago. Since then, I've become a lot better at starting to recognize the signs of I've worked too much and just putting the brakes on and fucking off and doing something else for a couple of days. It's just a lesson that I learned the hard way massively.
And the thing is as well, your work output, like the quality of your work, once you take that break, will go massively back up again. You know, you will be so much more productive. You'll be so much more happy. You'll be happier in your work. Your family and your relationships will benefit from some time off. And that's always, because that was always my problem, is I had always put work first in every respect, except for my daughter. My daughter has always, for me, being a dad is more important than anything. Dad and a husband now. But the thing is, I never had, like, work would always come first in front of girlfriends and stuff like that before. So I was always like, oh, okay, I'm in Nottingham this week. Cool. I'll drive for 3 hours. I'll go, I'll leave at 3 a.m. so I can get at 6 a.m. and then do a course. And I was exactly the same. But luckily, I didn't have the chronic fatigue bit at the end.
Well, maybe I'm a pussy.
No, definitely not.
Well, I used to do some crazy shit. I remember so one of the messages that I think will come across a lot in this podcast is contradictions. So on one hand, if I'm talking to new PTs, I'll tell them that you have to say yes to everything, because opportunities only come if you're in the right place at the right time. And you're only in the right place at the right time if you're fucking everywhere all of the time. And that is I'm sure there's better ways of doing it, but it's just like in the things that worked for me were just always say yes to everything and find a way of cramming it all in. However, then over time, you sort of earn the right to then learn to have to say no to stuff. Like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm only going to do this. And like you say, that keeping all of your plates spinning, but probably fucking a few of them up, in contrast to picking and choosing what you do, but improving the quality of your output, is a crucial journey to go through, I think.
I think so, because I would massively agree with you. So I say to people, again, say yes to everything, work as hard as you can until you have so many opportunities, then you can choose. Yeah. If you're not in a position to choose which ones you do, then you need more opportunities, which means you need to work harder, in my opinion.
Then over time, you need to learn to work smarter.
Yeah, and then when you've done that, you work smarter and harder.
Fucked. I used to do some stupid stuff. Do you know Fitness Fiesta?
Yes.
You heard of them? So Fitness Fiesta, they like, for those who don't know, it's like a huge group exercise convention, and they have like the creme de la creme of the group exercise instructors and me, who deliver classes. You have like 10, 12 classes a day. Starts Friday lunchtime, runs all the way through till Sunday lunchtime. And I've done quite a number of them. And they have one in Cambersands, right down on the south coast. So drive down Friday morning, do a session Friday afternoon, have a few beers with the other presenters. Then I had a session on Saturday morning, and then I had nothing until Sunday morning. So usually that would be like, right, well, I'll do my session Saturday morning, and then I'll potter around, I'll do a bit of laptop work, or I might go and like prance around in a few classes, or I'll go and watch the football or something. Anyway, Rachel France asked me to speak at her biomechanics conference in Loughborough. And I'd been to the first one with you as your guest, where you presented. And then for the second one, she'd asked me to speak. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do it. And then she gave me the date, and I was like, shit, I can't say no to Fitness Fiesta, and I don't want to say no to her. So I said to Rachel, listen, I can do it, but I'm quickly doing I'm on Google Maps looking at the distance between Camber Sands on the south coast and Loughborough, which is God knows how many miles, but I think it was about a 3.5, 4 hour journey.
Yeah.
I was like, my class finishes in Camber Sands at 10 a.m. I reckon I can get in my car and off site within 10 minutes. So if you put me on after 2 o'clock, I can speak. So she's like, right, okay, well, the last slot is 2:30 or 2:45. So you can have the last slot. I was like, done. So I drove for 3 hours down to Camber Sands to teach 2 40-minute circuit classes, to then jump straight in my car and drive 4 hours to speak at Rachel's conference, spoke for an hour, got back in my car and drove back so I didn't miss having a few beers on the Saturday night, and then had to get up and teach my session Sunday morning and then drive 3.5 hours home. Ridiculous. Wow. But it was bloody good fun.
And there is something about when you finish it and you're done, you're like, yeah, I fucking did that. Like, I can do anything. I remember, not work related, but we went to the Highlands of Scotland camping, me, my wife and my daughter. And it was in Gairloch, which is like the top left corner of Scotland. And I drove from there back down to Essex in one day, 14 hours non-stop, except for like 12 hours. I had about 4 cans of Monster and I was just like, fun times, eh?
Mate, it's a happy day. I've done it myself. I could tell stories like this all the time, but I did another one where I did some work with Great Britain Ice Hockey, and they had a session Saturday mornings, like a Saturday, Sunday, they'd have a camp, and they'd put me on for a 9 a.m. S&C session to go through like warm-ups and stuff like that before they then went on the ice. So I had to go first because it made logical sense. However, I was working for Bannatynes at the time, and I was the late DM, so I had to lock up at 11 p.m. Damn. So I'm locking up in Peterborough at 11 p.m. and in 10 hours time, I've got to be delivering a session in Dumfries, which is a 6.5 hour drive. So I was like, right, hang on, I'm doing the maths here. I've got about, not only have I got to get there, but I've got to check into my hotel. I then need to have breakfast. I need to stop and get diesel. So I was like, I reckon I've got about 2 hours for sleep. So, and I did about 3 or 4 of these camps as well in one season. And I'll just lock the gym up. I'd go and pile into the petrol station, fill my car up with shit. I'd drive for 6 hours without even stopping for a piss. Check into the hotel at, if I'm lucky, 6 a.m. If not, it would be maybe 6:30, 7 a.m. Sometimes I'd go to sleep for an hour. Sometimes I'd just go straight to breakfast, eat, then go and do my session, and then go to bed. Wow. And that was unpaid as well.
But it's all an opportunity, isn't it?
Mate, do as we say, not as we do. But in terms of mistakes and fuck ups, hopefully we've done enough of them to help other people. Mate, just before we wrap up, I just want to ask you about UK PTs, because anybody could have set up a free group and added some personal trainers in there. So my question to you is, and I probably know the answer to the first bit, how did it end up being you that did it? And when you did it, what were you expecting to happen in the short, medium and long term?
So the reason I set it up, and this is going to sound really cliche, was integrity. So I was teaching courses.
What's one of them?
I don't know. I saw integrity.
It. I'm not very good at anatomy.
So I was teaching courses for a very large training company. I'm not going to name them just in case they decide to do something about it. Yeah, basically.
In case they want to sue us for dropping their name in the same conversation as goat shagging.
Yes. And also what I'm about to say is probably not good for their reputation. But
slanderous. Go on, say it. I love it.
So I was working for this company, and they were basically operating a conveyor belt PT course. So you would have 6 weeks, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5 with a tutor. And then on the final Friday, that was it. You were a qualified PT. You get kicked out the door, and that was it. And basically, I was getting loads and loads of my ex-students, because I actually gave a fuck. They would message me and be like, oh, what do I do in my first session?
Yeah, what do I do now?
Huh?
What do I do now?
Yeah, exactly. And they'd say, what the fuck? Like, we didn't have any. And because I ran one of the academies in Essex, I used to throw in like an additional business day, which was my own time, did that for free. I would throw in like a 1 day session on like suspension, kettlebells, just some additional stuff to give them a bit of a boost. And so in the end, I thought, you know what, I'm going to set up a Facebook group for all of my ex-students where they can come and just network and get advice, and I can just answer all these questions centrally. So that was in 2012, and it started off with like 30 students. And then I started to see the benefit, and people were starting to kind of roll. It was like the engagement was starting to build. So I started approaching local PTs and saying, look, I run this group. The more of us there are, the more help we can all give each other. Do you mind if I add you in? And 99% of them said yes. I think, maybe 1 out of 20 would say no, maybe. And then it just kind of grew. So that was the short term. The short term was just these guys need some support and some help. There's nowhere else for them to go. I might as well set it up. And then it started to grow, and it got to 1,000, then 2,000, and it started to grow fast. And I thought, do you know what? This is probably the platform where I can make the biggest difference in upholding the standards of the fitness industry. And that was always the goal. The goal was always to keep the fitness industry at a high enough standard that I think is, we are fitness professionals. And it was my love of the fitness industry that made me do that for free, because I love the fitness industry. It's helped me out a lot over the past, 10 years, 13 years. And it was my way of kind of giving back some stuff. And now it's getting to the point where the group is able to be monetized. And even then, the monetization is not the primary thing. And it's not to pay me a wage. The monetization is to hold events and to do adverts to grow the group and get more members. And the more members we have, the more power we have. Yeah. And we can approach people like SimSpa or whoever and say, look, there's 15,000 of us now. You need to listen to what we say, bitch.
Listen, I'll ring them and I'll tell them. Basically, you just a bit of a hero, weren't you? Like a fucking Robin Hood from Robin of Essex.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I've got a T-shirt that says Robin of Essex, so it's
mate.
Yeah.
Hero. Was it called UK PTs from day one?
It was, and I'll be honest, I can't even remember why I chose that name. It was just, I think I had a bit of a vision. I was like, oh, do you know what? This could be a group for everybody.
Maybe it could expand.
Yeah. And then it just fucking exploded. So now to the point, I think we get 100 new people a week, roughly. It just goes to show how many personal trainers are out there that are qualifying that don't have the support that they need. And yeah.
Yes, it's true. I mean, there's a few things to touch on there. I mean, for a start, you scoff at the company that was churning out PTs. They were doing a 6-week course, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
As bad as that was to you at the time, that's fucking phenomenal compared to what some people are trying to get away with these days.
Yeah.
6 weeks full time is almost unheard of.
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult because, like, obviously I have been in the online courses kind of sector for a long time, and I've seen the developments of how well you can make an online course now. Like, you can make an online course in my opinion now, nearly as good as a face-to-face course, if not better, because of the amount of info. You're not constrained by time. Mm-hmm. So, if me and you sat down and we wrote a PT course, we could have thousands and thousands of hours put into an online course, and it would be, we could make it 400 quid if we wanted to, because it's infinitely scalable. Yeah. Whereas, you know, if we've got 10 people in a room for X amount of time, there's only so much we can do with them in that time without it being 10 grand a course. So I completely get that the fitness industry has gone for these online courses, but I do think that there's some large companies that were the biggest in the UK at one point. Their name rhymes with Schmemia Schmobel. You know, they've gone fully online now. You don't do any practical work, is what I've been told. And I find that, again, you can do video assessments and stuff, but that doesn't sit very well with me. I think there should always be some sort of tutor-led element.
Yeah, I've always been anti-online anything, but that's because I'm mildly retarded and extremely fucking ignorant, and stubborn as fuck as well, much to my detriment. So as I've kind of plodded along through the educational world and become sort of friends with very successful, high-profile people, they've all sort of said, "Oh, you should do this online. You should do that online. You should do that." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to. I need to do it face-to-face because I'm a traditionalist." And although face-to-face is best and always will be best, as you say, if this little COVID, the lockdown that we had, like certainly the initial 4-month lockdown, if that's taught me especially anything, it is that actually you can do a fucking good job of online teaching and coaching. Just because it's not as good as face-to-face, you can get pretty bloody close. And as you say, in a lot of areas, if you look at things like convenience, the size of the market you can then sell to from a business perspective, actually, in a lot of areas, it is probably better to do something 100% online, especially in terms of a qualification. For me, it doesn't sit too well, but if a lot of the learning is done online and there's just a smaller face-to-face element as a refresher and an assessment, like, is that the end of the world? Like, the world is changing very quickly, and you have to be careful not to get left too far behind, don't you?
Yeah, agreed. And
I'm stuck in like the 50s.
Sending telegrams.
Yeah.
So I genuinely believe that if you were to give me, you know, if you were going to give me some time and you said, look, I want you to write, and this is something I'm actually doing, but I want you to get this, let's have a look. This is an exercise referral book. That's massive. Most people that do the course are not going to read that. They're not going to go through the whole thing. But I think if you had a really, really good online platform, and you had a good presenter, like on video, and you had good resources, and I think you could make that course really, really digestible. And I honestly believe that if you had for exercise referral as an example, instead of doing 2 weekends with a tutor, where you can just take in the amount of information you need to pass the course, rather than you've got an online course, which is 150 lessons, what they can do over 6 months. I think the online course is probably going to be better. The thing that I don't like is with the online, like fully online PT, is that they don't have that the practical element is not coached by a live tutor.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when I'd been lifting kettlebells for like years and years and years, and then you came down and did a kettlebell course for us, and you said like 2 things, and that completely changed the way I did a kettlebell swing, you know? And it's that kind of hands-on coaching experience that I think would be lacking. And if you've got a way of kind of putting that into the course, fair enough. But I just think if you've got someone going through level 2 and they've never trained before, if you've got a complete beginner that's never trained before, and you're expecting them to learn all of the exercises online, then there's going to be something wrong. They're going to do something wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah. I forgot that I'd been down and done a kettlebell course with you.
Yeah, long time ago.
Long time ago, wasn't it? Yeah. So in essence, face-to-face coaching and learning is brilliant, but online learning and coaching can also be brilliant.
Yep.
And one being brilliant doesn't make the other one shit, and vice versa.
Yeah.
There's a bloody good argument both ways. I think having an element of both, no matter what the ratio is, but I think the quality now, and like with the software and the platforms you can use, I've started messing around with Thinkific, not from an education perspective, but just with clients. So I'm like, well, fuck me, how many times if I'm teaching somebody something, 9 times out of 10, I'm saying the same things to people about the same thing. So if I just record it all once, put it in that digital platform, and they can just watch those videos while they're sat having a shit, or they're on the bus, or they're pretending they're concentrating in a death by PowerPoint board meeting, they can just pick it up in their own time. And I can bottle and sell that to anyone anywhere in the world, rather than having to wait for someone who lives within a 10-minute radius of me to want to come and get told shit in their spare time. And so it's definitely a good element of good and bad for both, isn't there?
It's all down to context as well. So, you know, if I was to teach you a course on how to write a business plan, do you really need me sitting in front of you for that? Probably not. Could it all be delivered online? Yes. If you want me to teach you how to do a cleaning jerk with a barbell, it's probably going to be best that I'm there to tweak your... And the thing is, you could still do that online via Zoom. But if we were talking about fully online without a tutor there, then you couldn't do that. That would probably be a bit of a pain. So to me, it all comes down to context. But then, like in your example, where you say, right, you've got the basic stuff that you teach every client. For example, if you teach every client, this is how you're going to use MyFitnessPal, what that does is that then multiplies the time you've got to actually teach the stuff that makes an impact. So, you know, instead of just spending 10 hours of client sessions teaching them stuff that you could have pre-recorded, you can now focus on the stuff that's going to really make an impact to that person, you know? So yeah, it's all context.
Interesting stuff, mate. Interesting stuff. On that note, when I started dabbling in the professional sport world, so you're looking at probably 2008, 9, 10, I came across another S&C coach who knew a guy. It sounds like a bullshit story. Like, oh yeah, I know someone who knows someone. But there's a guy who I was working with knew somebody who was an S&C coach, and he had a salaried role with an American college basketball team, but he lived in England. Wow. And all he did is he flew to America. He put a webcam up in every corner, and they had sort of like a speaker system, some sort of audio system. He had like a weekend, a bit of a debrief with all, or a brief, sorry, with the players and coaches, like just laid some foundations. And then he would just log into the cameras on his like split screen when they had their gym sessions, and with his microphone, he'd be just coaching as if he was sitting in the corner. And this is like over 10 years ago. And I was like, fuck me, that guy was a visionary. Like, okay, that might not be ideal, it might not be perfect, but there's no rule that says you can't do something high quality with very high end athletes from thousands of miles away.
Yeah, massively agree.
Good old technology. So let's hope that when I draw a topic out of the hat, that you haven't got to slag off technology that you've just been wanking over. Well, how do we want to decide who's going to go for and who's going to go against? Have you got a coin anywhere?
I do not, I'm afraid. I have a bottle lid, if that's any help.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me hold this Trebor Strong Mint. Other mints are available. Bit of product placement there. I'm going to hold this mint in one of my hands. If you get it right, you can choose whether you go for or against.
Okay. Left hand, please.
My left hand is empty.
Ooh.
So you lose. So I get to choose whether I go for or against. Do you know what? I'm going to go against.
Ooh. Okay.
You're going for.
I've got a notepad here, so I'm going to quickly jot down some thoughts as well, depending on what the category is.
Okay. So completely at random. Obviously, me and you know the 20 words or phrases that are on these, but I don't know which one of the 20 is going to be picked. And so we can't be accused of cheating. My hand will not leave the screen. And it is expos.
Okay. Right. We have like 30 seconds to just formulate our thoughts, or are we going straight in?
I was going to make you go in, mate. Just
all right. I'll go first, yeah?
Spit on it and shove it in.
Okay, so expos, for anyone that hasn't been in the fitness industry long enough, expos are conferences, and there are some big ones. There's LIW, which I think is now gone. There's Body Power. There's the Scottish one, SFN. So for me, the benefits of these expos, primarily networking. You get to meet a lot of personal trainers. You get to meet a lot of experts, and you can go and you can sit in a room with a bunch of PTs and get to see other people in an otherwise lonely industry.
Halfway.
You can also gain a lot of knowledge. You can get a lot of freebies. You can create your own opportunities, and you can make introductions as well. And for me, they're also a really great way of getting out and seeing new products, new items, new trends.
Last 10.
Boom, that's it. Fuck, I'm done.
That's it, you're done. Right. Well, let me tell you then that expos are, and this is difficult, I've been employed by companies that run expos. So this is all tongue in cheek. Expos would be fantastic, and all of that stuff that you just described would be lovely if it actually happened. I tell you what happens at expos. People fucking rock up, they take their t-shirts off in the car park, they then walk all the way into the auditorium with their trousers on only, flexing and looking at each other, sussing each other like some kind of bloody homoerotic gangbang festival. And then all they do is walk around queuing up for 2 hours to get a sachet of some shitty protein that has come off a conveyor belt that's the same as all the other protein shakes, but just with a different label on it. And then they'll queue up for another 3 hours to have their photograph taken with some greased up, oiled wanker who's got a few thousand Instagram followers, but has to work full time as a builder because he can't earn enough money from anything remotely fitness related. Therefore, on that note, expos are shit.
So I think we should ask people in the comments, both on UK PTs and on YouTube and anywhere else you can find this, to let us know who won that debate. Are you pro, or are you for or against expos? So conferences, do you believe they offer networking, knowledge, freebies, opportunities, intros, or are they just douche soup?
I didn't even get on to the exhibitors who are showing off their poxy fucking products that they've just invented that they think is going to change the world, whereas all it is like an over-engineered heap of crap. However, honestly, expos are a hit from me. I was being facetious. I was ridiculing some of the people who attend expos and some of the behaviours that you do see. But to be honest, you can't beat them. in terms of, like you said, getting to actually listen to people speak about educational stuff in the flesh, to go and sit and have a chat and a drink with them, because you realize that these people that are on a pedestal for the other 300 and some odd days of the year, they're all normal guys and girls. You can sit and have a beer with them and have a laugh with them, and they're bloody good people. I've not met many who are obnoxious pricks. A couple, but most of them are fucking good eggs. So for me, expos are a hit. But if you think that my side of the debate against expos was worth a vote, then chuck a comment in.
If you think Mark is contradicting himself and he's a sellout, then vote for mine.
I'm always contradicting myself, mate. Anyway, last minute, you hopefully, assuming you got the memo, hopefully you have prepared 3 statements for me, 2 of which are false, and 1 that is true.
Yes.
Read them out and I'll see if I can guess which one's which.
Okay. So, number 1, I can juggle various objects, doesn't matter what you want, glass bottles, torches, whatever.
Testicles?
Occasionally. I mean, I've got 3, so it's fine. Number 2, I read 2 to 3 books a week. You know, as you can see, there's quite a few books here.
That's some Mr. Men collection you've got there.
I know, Mr. Tickle was my favourite. And then the final one is I am a survivalist.
A survivalist? What is a survivalist?
You know, like the whole doomsday prepper, live in a bunker, go in the woods, live in the woods, that sort of thing.
Okay, so I don't doubt that you read a lot, because I've got about 20 gigabytes on my hard drive of books that you've sent me in the past. I don't doubt that at all. However, I don't think that you read 2 or 3 books per week.
You are correct.
Juggling. Oh, do you know what? I think you probably can juggle. However, the Doomsday Prepper one has, like, it's calling me in. Like, I don't know what it is about it. It's like it's unbuttoning its blouse and it's showing me a bit of stocking under its short skirt and it's luring me in. I think you have got like a secret little bunker under your house, and if the apocalypse comes, I reckon you've got about 10,000 pot noodles and more toilet roll than you could wave a stick at, and you are ready to spend a good few months down there.
So is that your final answer?
That is my final answer.
You think I'm a survivalist?
I think you're a survivalist.
You are correct. So, yeah, I've been on various courses, survival courses, both like urban, woodland. In October, I'm going on a deer hunting course to skin and butcher a deer. I normally carry a knife on me, a UK legal carry knife.
Standard for Essex.
Pretty much. So I always carry a knife on me, always within the law. And yeah, so we can talk about that maybe another episode. But
nice, cool. Happy days. I can't believe I got that. How cool is that? I'm now going to go and watch an episode of Columbo or something, just to kind of keep myself, to keep my detective skills fully lubed. On that note, do you know I used to work for Bear Grylls?
I did actually, yeah. Doing his training stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, we can talk about it another day, but yeah, I used to work for Bear Grylls, and we'll have to put him on the list of people to see if we can maybe get him long term down the line, see if we can get him on to chat, because he gets involved in a lot of fitness stuff. Anyway, mate, go and check that your bunker is all right. Thank you for humouring me with my terrible interviewing skills. And we will be back for a second pilot episode where the boot will be on the other foot and you will be the interviewer and I will be the interviewee.
Nice. So until next time, everyone, we will see you soon. Again, don't forget UK PTs Podcast on YouTube and all reputable podcast stations such as Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast app, all that sort of stuff. If you have any questions, you can always get in touch with me and Mark within the UK PTs group. Mark, have you got like a preferred method of people getting in touch with you?
Pigeon with a note wrapped around its ankle would probably be my favourite, but I would settle for an email or like an Instagram, a DM.
What's your email
like that. Pardon?
What's your email address?
mark@marklaws.co.uk.
Easy peasy.
MARKLAWS. And I'm Mark Laws 2011 on Facebook, Instagram, and last night I had to reset up Twitter for a new work project that I've do. So I think I've got something like 7 Twitter followers. So if you fancy being my 8th, then then jump on. But mate, Josh, cheers for your time, mate. I'll see you next time, and take it easy.
It's been emotional.
Laters.